is necessarily gay or bi or anything, because I don't think in those years, especially for those characters, that those are fixed categories. That desire is very mutable for most people. And I like that the show never really addresses it. It kind of leaves it up in the open, because that's life, that's reality. You don't know what you want when you're that young or that old or whatever. So there's clear to me that there's something going on here, but he also has feelings for Haruhi, and it's all of them. And so it's really, really cool. When they started calling each other mommy and daddy, I thought, it's kind of beautiful in a way, because it's like that's the only way they can make sense of the relationship they all have together, is to kind of be the family for each other that they don't have from their own flesh and blood. And that to me was really poignant and heartfelt, and that's the major reason I love that show. So as kind of silly and funny as it is to hear Kyoya say daddy and go whatever, the fact that someone that together and that intelligent would submit to doing something, because Kyoya doesn't do anything he doesn't want to do. Exactly. Well, even money's not his first concern. He likes money, but only because of, they need it. Especially Tamaki needs the money, because Tamaki lives in this dream world, and to fuel that dream world, he needs money. So Kyoya is always making sure that the budget's kept. Well, yeah, that plays a significant role too. Honey eats too many of them to sell. So they don't make much of a profit. Trust me, I know, work is on my head. Yeah, that's so I love Oran. Again, I urge everyone who's seen the show now and really likes it to go back in viewers and watch it, because it's the kind of show that changes. I mean, you watch it again and you're like, wow, this is still the show I thought it was, but it's so much more now that you come back into it with a little more life experience under your belt, and you realize just how tricky and demanding and subversive that show really, really is. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I could talk for hours about Oran, and indeed have. So, but thank you for that question. I love the opportunity to talk about things like that. So I see. Let's see. I see in the back there. You've got the goggles.
Okay. Out of curiosity, what did you think of the Kyoya scene where he ended up pushing her on the bed, kind of to prove her point? My friend stopped.
Okay. So what?
My friend stopped watching the show because she thought it was like an insult to the character and so forth, like this whole I'm pretending to rape you to prove a point. What was your thought on the situation?
Okay, let me make sure I understand you correctly. So your friend stopped watching that episode because she felt he or she.
It's a she.
She felt that it was an insult to the character, that the character was going in a different direction.
Well, she actually just didn't like the show at all anymore because of the whole thing about him pushing her on the bed, sort of say, okay, this is how I'm going to tell you not to get raped, I push you on the bed. It just seemed like a really forceful way. I mean, I know the character-wise, she really had a bad impression of him because of that scene. What were your thoughts on that?
My thought, that's actually the first scene that really drew me into the show. I don't mean that to be funny. It's not that I'm like, oh yeah, it's getting dirty now. That is a very frightening scene. Because if you can imagine yourself being either one of those people in that scene at that age, that's terrifying. Why Kyoya is doing this, I think, is very, very complicated. Why Haruhi kind of lets it get as far as it does, and why she kind of, I mean, it's really, for me, I can understand someone going, that's a really weird moment, that makes me very uncomfortable. It is meant to be uncomfortable, that is the idea. Because what it addressed for the first time is, and I don't want to give too much away about what I think about Kyoya, because I don't want to be like, I don't want to speak like I'm the authority on what Kyoya thinks. My version of it is my version, but to me, what's going on in that scene is, and I discussed this just last night with someone, because I was finally kind of getting my head around it for the first time. But the reason I was, I think, drawn into that scene from the first, when I watched it, seeing that is when I wanted to play Kyoya. I'm like, there's a lot going on in this guy's head. It is clear to me when he does what he does, by sort of throwing her on the bed and teaching her a lesson, that he is trying to be more manly than he thinks he really can be. There's a lot, it's very complicated, and I'll speak to it as kind of concisely as I can, because it's really hard to sum up what's going on in someone's mind in a scene like that, either one of those characters. But it's clear to me that he has feelings for Tamaki. Seeing Tamaki relate as he does to Haruhi, because it's clear to everyone from the first that Tamaki has feelings for Haruhi, but Haruhi also very strongly resembles a boy. So for the first time in their relationship, Kyoya, who has tried to kind of keep his feelings, not his true feelings, so to speak, but his deeper feelings for Tamaki under wraps, because he feels he has to, is now confronted with seeing essentially the object of his affections, his secret affections, feel, tooling around with this boy-like little girl and it confuses him. And I think what he's trying to, he doesn't like, it confuses him because I think there's one thing Kyoya could never ever deal with at that time in his life is, I mean, if he really does love Tamaki, as I suspect he does, because of who he is and because of the family he comes from, he would never be able to admit it. So it is a huge force of effort for him to keep that closed off. But that is like, now that he's decided, I'm never going to own that because it would be too damaging to let out, both to myself and to Tamaki and to our families. Seeing Tamaki have something like a relationship with someone who looks like another guy would make him feel extraordinarily uncomfortable and jealous. Like, well, okay, this is ridiculous. And so he's trying to put a stop to it by insisting that Haruhi, he's like, look, I know you don't care about the whole gender thing, but you need to. Like, please do, because it makes me uncomfortable. But he can't admit that even. So he's really trying, he wants Haruhi to be a girl, because that he can make sense of. That's the great thing about Haruhi's character for everyone else in that show. She is kind of the 500-pound gorilla in the room. She forces all of those characters into very, very uneasy epiphanies about who they really are and what they really want and how they feel. And that's that moment between her and Kyoya. You'll notice after that, when she tells him, when saying to him, look, I know you can never do this. She's telling him, I know why you're really doing this. You're not about to try to force me into something I don't want to do. You're really just desperately trying to make sense of how you feel for Tamaki and how I fit into that picture. But it's okay. You don't have to overthink this. Just let it be. That's really what's going on between the two of them, and that's why he just kind of backs off and says, yeah, you're right. And after that scene, their relationship, they're much closer after that. In almost every scene where they're together, they're alone together, kind of commenting on the rest of the craziness going on. And it's because they had that moment. And so I love how incredibly subtle and wonderful that moment is. As uncomfortable as it is, the two of them become very good friends because of it. And they're exactly who they need each other to be. And man, again, I love all along for that reason. Wow, I have like time for like one more question. And 1,000 hands come up. So, okay, let me just say this. If I don't like pick you, please don't feel insulted or anything like that. It's totally random. So I know I've kind of been shy of this side of the room. I see way in the back there, the blue hair. You've got what's his name? The little cat puppet. Yes. What's his name? Nelson. I was confused. Wait, I'm sorry, could you start over because those people won't shut up. Kyoya has this little black book. I'm pretty sure his little black, what? Money! Or money. Well, there's a lot of money in that little black book. that little black book is worth a lot of money. Or what's in it. So, well, cool, thank you. Actually, time for one more question now because of that. So let's see. I see. Oh God, I hate this part. I see you in like a black t-shirt. You got kind of red hair there toward the back. Yes, you.
What's your favorite Enel line?
My favorite Enel? Oh my God. It's the line that never actually made it. It was one of his first lines when he's sitting there eating fruit, and he says, "Peel this for me." When he hands it to like one of the girls that are helping him out. And there was the line as originally written, which we thought was really, really funny, was him just going, "Banana me." Like, banana me. And the reason we didn't keep it is we thought, okay, it's too funny. It kind of breaks the seriousness of the scene. That's like my favorite internet line is "Banana me." They ever actually introduce like a banana flavored milkshake into that Jack in the Box? You might believe I'm going to say that in the drive-thru. Absolutely. So, well, actually,